With the release of Koumei the Five Fates, we got a Warframe rework that I was not expecting. Nova has always been a very strong Warframe and definitely was not who I'd put up next in line with Caliban for such an overhaul like this. That being said though, I'm very glad they did. Nova has been one of my least favourite frames for a while now, and the only setup I ever really enjoyed was Vasion's Speed Nova setup. The rework has not only breathed new life into all of her abilities, but this has also opened up more enjoyable playstyles for her that I actually enjoy now. Today's build will be focused on currently my favourite playstyle for Nova, which focuses on her Null Star ability and making it synergize with her 2 and her 4. But before we get into the build and setup, we must cover her updated kit so anyone that has not tried the rework is up to speed. So, Nova's new passive grants her a high chance of health or energy orbs when enemies are killed while being either slowed or sped up by her 4th ability. This ties in directly to her molecular prime changes, which we'll get into shortly. As for her first ability, Null Star now has its damage reduction effect on both your health and shields. The amount of orbs is now modded with power strength instead of duration. The more orbs you have, the more damage reduction you have, up to 90% total. It is also now recastable, however it's worth noting at the time of this recording there is a bug preventing the recast for 2 seconds that's been confirmed to be getting fixed soon. And finally, all of her abilities now deal blast damage, Null Star included. Her second ability, Antimatter Drop, got some much needed quality of life changes. It is now much easier to charge up with a variety of weapons, and you can send out the orb at a high speed with a second tap of the ability. This means the ability is no longer slow, and with the change to blast damage can now proc a second explosion after the first one when enough enemies are procced with blast. Her third ability, Wormhole, also receives some quality of life. It no longer uses duration but rather charges. These charges are displayed above the portals and the ability can be held down to see where the portal leads. We will be subsuming off this skill today in favour of Nourish due to its synergy with Null Star. And finally, Molecular Prime, her 4th skill, now possesses the ability to toggle between the slow and the speed effect via tapping or holding the ability down. Increasing your strength now affects both the speed and the slow, so you no longer have to go into negative strength to get the speed Nova. This also means you can now mod for both effects at once. 150% total power strength is required for maximum slow and speed up effects. Duration still affects the distance covered by the wave, and now the damage multiplier is effective across both health and shields. And this damage increase is very noticeable. Now, as mentioned in today's builds, we are using Nourish over her 3. The energy bonus is good, but that's not the reason for using it, as her passive combined with the Equilibrium mod makes her energy sustain very consistent now. However, the viral damage buff applies to her Null Stars. In addition to this, we can use the augment Neutron Star to grant us not only bonus fire damage on our particles, but also the ability to send out those particles and deal damage whenever we recast. Throwing in Archon Vitality to the mix doubles these heat procs, and then utilising the mod Vigorous Swap to further boost the damage of these particles, and we have a walking projectile nuke without even getting into Antimatter Drop or Molecular Prime yet. When using Molecular Prime, our damage is of course doubled, and due to our Neutron Star orbs proccing Blast, Viral and Heat, they not only nuke rooms with ease, but also act as primers on anything that survives. For example, in the survival, as the levels went higher, Null Star was still killing into the thousands, but so was Antimatter Drop. Normally, her 2 will fall off against high level armor and require an armor strip helmet, but due to the elemental debuff from my 2, we're still killing as their levels increased. So this build not only focuses on Null Star, but allows her Antimatter Drop to remain useful when combined with her 1 and 4. As for the playstyle, this build isn't going to be for everyone, specifically due to Vigorous Swap being on the build and the fact that if you want to do as much damage as possible with our Neutron Stars, we want to be spamming Swap on our weapons, so that way we gain the bonus damage on our particles. And other than that, she does have a decent amount of casting she has to do, and this casting would also be increased if you went for a more shield gate oriented build, which we will demonstrate as to what mods you can replace. And also, once the bug is fixed with the casting on the 1, this build is going to be even stronger for shield gating. You want to keep your 1 active, and whenever you feel like sending out those projectiles and doing a large amount of damage, swap your weapons and then press the ability again. Ideally, you want to do this on enemies that are primed by your 4. In this instance, we're in a survival mission, which means that using Speed Nova is extremely useful to get enemies quickly to you, but as the enemy levels increase, you might be better off switching it to Slow Nova, so that way the enemies don't do as much damage per second to you. And once the damage of your 1 starts to slow down a little bit, you can start integrating the use of Antimatter Drop. Of course, her Nourish is going to be active at all times, and sending her antimatter drops on enemies that have been primed by a 1, meaning that they've already taken a large amount of viral, heat, and blast damage, is basically going to guarantee that your antimatter drop nukes the whole room. And for the people that really don't like the playstyle of vigorous swap and having to mash your weapon switch, I will say I think it makes this build way stronger. The damage bonus is very noticeable on your first ability when using this mod, so if you want this to be a primary form of DPS, I highly recommend you keep it in the build. As for the build itself, the main thing I want to touch on here is, once again, the shield gating aspect. For most play, I'm not really going to be going with just shield gating, so I like to go with adaptation, and of course Archon Vitality is in there so we can get that bonus proc on our 1. However, we're combining Archon Vitality with Arcane Blessing for a large amount of HP, and this is going to make us tanky through a lot of content. And Aegis is also another layer of survivability on top of this, giving us a large amount of shield regen. But if you really want to take this build to level cap, I'd recommend getting rid of adaptation and Archon Vitality, which is going to sacrifice a bit of your damage on your 1, and then throwing in Rolling Guard and Catalyzing Shields. Combining that with Brief Respite and you're good to go. I'm absolutely addicted to this setup, but of course it's not just the Nova build that's really making this enjoyable. You also want to combine her with some very fun weaponry, and of course I had to use the new Incarnon weapons. We did a video on these the other day, and I went over the order in which I think they are from best to worst or worst to best. And reality is, all of the new Incarnon weapons are brilliant. I'm not going to cover the Okina build because I barely used it, and if you want to see a build for that weapon, it is in the previous video, but we will go over the Dera Vandal and the Sigurus Prime again. Once again, the Sigurus Prime is still bugged at this time of the recording, but this weapon is still going to kick ass even once they fix it. The Dera Vandal was without a doubt the most fun part of this weapon setup. Something about the railgun aspect of its Incarnon form really feels right on Nova. It's also very good at charging up her antimatter drop. And with the combination of the Nautilus on this setup, which not only increases the amount of AoE damage we can do with our Nova abilities, this also allows us to make use of the punch through on the Dera Incarnon. Blasting through hordes of enemies for millions of damage with this thing doesn't get old. And yeah, sure, the Sigurus Incarnon is way stronger, and it probably still will be, but the real fun of this mission was definitely the Dera Vandal. You realistically don't have to mod these for viral because we have Nourish on Nova, so I recommend either Blast or Corrosive, but I just didn't even bother. So if you really want to optimize it further, you can do that. And also, the new Incarnon weapons have really good evolutions across the board, so you can also customize these however you like. What else is there to say, man? Pablo just always lands when it comes to these reworks. I've never been a fan of frames where they rely on you having to switch up your build just to go into a certain mission for a certain playstyle. Constantly switching between speed and slow Nova via builds was a gripe of mine. And the fact that this rework now allows you to run both of those at the same time, and the fact you have better survivability, way more damage, and just an overall more fun and interactive playstyle, this has completely changed my perception on Nova as a Warframe. She doesn't even feel remotely the same, and for me that's good. And at the same time, she retains her identity. I've no doubt a bunch of the Nova mains are going to be stoked on this rework, and if you didn't like Nova before, much like me, I highly recommend you give her a try now. The playstyle is fun, she also got a little bit better fashion frame, which is also a bonus, and the fact that I know if I ever get bored of this particular build or playstyle, I could go with an armor strip setup and focus on just her too. I could use the augment for her 4th ability, which is also really useful. And yes, I have seen the infinite Natterit portal builds, which have become even stronger now because obviously the portals now have infinite duration. I think those are absolutely hilarious and look like a ton of fun. Some people think they're going to get nerfed. Me, I don't think so because it seems so niche. But goddamn, Nova kicks ass right now, and I'm definitely going to be playing her more in the future. As per usual, I'm going to leave you with a bit more of the gameplay from the survival in the background. We left shortly after we hit around level 1000. And like I said, this build can be optimized to be more level cap worthy, so if you want to take this in a disruption or a cascade, just go with the shield gate setup. She's going to handle it with ease. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out some of my previous videos if you have not. I'll leave you guys with some of the gameplay and of course the fashion frame at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Mr. Tiger.
Extraction is ready. Delivered another life support capsule. Critical life support levels. Extraction is your best option. Life support activated. Enough reactant to open your relic.
My armor just done. Another torso probably back. I've got him. Looking ahead. If I fucking stumbled across a massive bag of cash, I would get literally everything I wanted straight away. That is a unanimous, saying the correct word, a universal issue across everyone wanting tattoos is money.
Life support has arrived. Critical life support levels. Extraction is your best option. Extraction is ready.
Hey, bitch, I was mid. Oh. I wasn't.
Running out of time. Consider extraction. Life support activated.
Why are you fucking rushing downwards?
Life support has been replenished.
It's cheating. Unbound license. Yeah. For real, bro. I can give them all the fucking... I don't know whether I do that, mainly because I think it would take me a while to come up with all of the ideas that I wanted to get in that moment, you know?
As As you conquer the foe, so you conquer yourself.
Dude, Nova is way stronger. Like, she absolutely clears